Good morning, everybody. Welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back on day 2 of the mini-series that we are running called Progressive Rock Giants about Yes and Genesis. So the topic for today, okay, before I get too far into this, so basically what I'm doing is I've taken the two progressive rock bands, Genesis and Yes, and I'm comparing them based on a topic each episode and producing 2 albums, one from each band, so that I have something to talk about as far as the topic goes. So for today's topic, we are doing double albums. Yes, both bands have released one studio double album. I think actually Yes may have released a second one, but these are considered the 2 classic double albums by these bands. Yes's Tale of the Topographical Ocean and Genesis' Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So both of these albums were double albums when they came out originally. They both have quite a bit of similarities here. So first of all, I'm not as familiar with these 2 albums as I am with most of the rest of the discography, mostly because they're longer and involved. And for those of you who watch my channel fairly regularly, you know that I have a preference. I was going to say a limited attention span, and that might be true as well. But I basically have a kind of a preference for albums that will go within the range of about 35 to 45 minutes, and these 2 albums are well outside of that range. So basically the topics, the 2 albums were their 2 biggest albums at the time period. Both, this one released in, I believe, 74. Actually, I think they were both released in 74. Yeah, both released in 74. So we'll talk first about the 2 topic, I've written down 7 questions or 7 topics, subtopics if you prefer. How did they sell generally commercially? I don't think either of these albums were huge commercial successes, although I'm pretty sure The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway was a much better commercial success than this album was. This album was long, hard to complex and hard to penetrate. This album, not so much. This one had a bunch of songs that told a story, so it was a concept album, but the songs were individually much easier to read and listen to than this, which had basically which was 4 tracks, basically one on each side of the album, and difficult to penetrate even for a good prog person, which I like to think I am. What made these albums what they are for this category? Well, they're both double albums, basically. Although on CD, I believe, on CD, this one definitely is a double CD. I think this one may be as well. Yeah, they're both double CDs. So basically, you're getting 2 albums in one from these 2 albums. That's why they're considered double albums, because that's what they were, really. Outstanding track. Well, with the Genesis one, obviously the outstanding track is the title track, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Sorry. That's the big track on these albums. This one does not want to close now. I love it when you open these things and they don't want to close. Okay, yeah. So The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway obviously was the big track on here. It was the commercial success on this album as well. This one didn't really have a big track, so to speak. I guess Ritual would be considered the big track, although it definitely wasn't a commercial big track, that's for sure. I ranked them. How I rank these 2 albums, so both of them are 2s with me, currently sitting as 2s, and that's because they're so long, hard to penetrate. I felt with this one in particular here, I felt that this one was kind of outside of the normal progression of the Genesis albums. Kind of was an outlier. It didn't fit into that progression very well. Very different album. So I don't know that it sat very well with me because of that. Not that I dislike it at all. I do like it. I just don't think it fits into that progression. And it's not really within my wheelhouse 100% like the others are. In this case, it's a little bit of the similar story. Not as far outside the progression of these bands, because this band progressed in a much different fashion. The next album that came out, Relayer, was much further progressed than this was. But this album is very complex, and that's part of the reason why it didn't sit as well with me and doesn't rank as high. Neither one of them ranks very high in their discography with me. If you watch them, you'll see that this one's much lower than most people would put it. And the same with The Lamb, often is, for many people, is the number one Genesis album. For me, it's down around 6th or 8th. I can't remember exactly, but that's where it is. I think it's 8th. I actually think that's where it is. Artwork. Well, this one is just a bunch of pictures taken, kind of a quirky bit of artwork here. I'm not really sure what they were attempting to accomplish here, but not bad. This one is actually one of the Yes's best artwork albums, I think. Really good. Oh, I just dropped one of the discs there. That's not a good thing. Sorry. Because this disc doesn't sit in here properly. I don't know why, but it doesn't. Anyways, so this one has some really great artwork on it. The other thing about this album too is if you open it, which I was trying to do without knocking it all over the place, if you're able to look inside the booklet, the artwork in there is even better than the one on the cover. So just an absolute killer set of artwork on this album, I think. Members. Okay, so this now has the classic Genesis lineup. Peter Gabriel on vocals, Phil Collins on drums and percussion, Tony Banks on keyboards and synthesizers, Mike Rutherford on bass primarily, but a little bit of guitar in there as well, and then of course Steve Hackett on guitars. So an excellent album by a group of excellent musicians. This album features Rick Wakeman on keyboards. Would be his last album. He would leave after this for a bit. I'm not happy with the complexity of where they're going, and then he goes and does Journey to the Center of the Earth. So go figure, right? John Anderson on vocals, Steve Howe on guitars, Chris Squire on bass and backing vocals, the same as Steve Howe. And Alan White is the drummer on this album. I believe he came in on this album. I think this is his first, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think that is the case. So so really solid albums, both of them. Harder to penetrate for me than most. For some people, the Genesis album is a much better album because it's easier to penetrate, and many people view it as Genesis's best album. Tales of the Topographical has grown with many of the Yes fans over the years, but still, for the vast majority of people listening to this group, it's a very difficult album to penetrate. Takes a lot of time. I haven't gotten there yet. Maybe I will at some point, but I haven't gotten there yet. So there you have it. The end of episode 2. Please like and subscribe if you wish. If you want to make any comments about the albums, you can put that in the comment section below. Also, I will be doing the 3rd episode. This will come out tomorrow morning. The 3rd episode will, of course, come out on Wednesday with another topic that will deal with 2 albums as well. And I hope you enjoyed this series. If you did, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. And we will see you on Wednesday, or after this one, on Wednesday with another episode. Take care. Have yourself a good night.